So we recently took Honey on her first in-cabin flight on Allegiant Airlines with only about 2 days to prepare.
But she was an absolute champ.
It was definitely such a good experience that we would definitely want to do it again. So we wanted to share 5 things with you that we did to kind of help everything run as smooth as butter.
So if you're planning on traveling with your pup for the first time soon, give this video a like and save it for later.
And hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of our other travel videos in the future. So with all of that said, let's get into the video. Tip number 1. Before you book your tickets, check the airline requirements.
Some airlines and destinations require paperwork or special documents to complete before booking.
And then some airlines also have some restrictions on what kind of breeds of dogs that you can bring on flight. And then tip 1A, you want to make sure that your dog is able to tolerate kind of travel like this. So if you're not sure, we do recommend reaching out to your vet to see if they have any concerns that may be relevant for your pet's care that you may need to be aware of before making your decision to fly with them.
Tip number 2. Once you've made the decision to book a flight, the next thing to do is to start getting ready for that flight by going to any vet visits that you need, obtaining the documents necessary, and getting a carrier that is compliant with the airline that fits your dog.
For our flight, we booked with Allegiant Airlines for a domestic flight. So when we were reading through Allegiant Airlines website for like a pet going in the cabin, we saw that thankfully they didn't require any documentation or specific vaccinations or special documents in order for us to take Honey on board. So we will link their website if you are planning on flying Allegiant in the future so that you can kind of see where we were when we were looking at it online. So hopefully that might be helpful to you as well.
Yeah. For us, we had to pay a $50 fee each way while booking. It wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. And then we went to PetSmart to buy a carrier for Honey. So
for the carrier that we were able to bring on flight for Honey, for Allegiant Airlines specifically, they do require it to be a specific size, and they require that it is a soft-sided or hard-sided carrier that fully encloses, and it has to be leak-proof, and they say that it has to be no larger than 9 inches high, 16 inches wide, and 19 inches deep. They do also state that your pet carrier does count as one of your 2 personal items that you bring on board on the flight. Like normally it's like you bring like 1 carry-on luggage and then 1 personal item like a backpack or a purse, but in this case your pet would count as your personal item, and then you could still bring on like your luggage. So when we flew, Lizzie brought a personal item and her carry-on, and then I just brought a carry-on, and then Honey was my personal item. So the carrier that we did end up purchasing did happen to be like 1 inch too big, but thankfully they weren't really that strict about the carrier that we brought in. They honestly didn't even really check it, but do make sure that like you are trying to be as compliant as possible with your airline requirements, just in case you happen to be a little more strict than our experience was. Tip number 3.
So if you've been following our channel the last couple of years, you've seen that we travel with Honey in our car with her little car seat, and she's pretty used to traveling in general. So thankfully we had a little bit of experience prior to flying that we think has been very helpful in making this whole process very successful. But specifically to get her ready for our flight for the first time, we did try to do a few things that were maybe a little bit extra to try to get her kind of used to being in that carrier for the duration of a flight. You just like, you don't want them to feel like it's too foreign to them, you know what I mean? Yeah. First thing we did that was very important is make sure that she was able to stand up within the carrier, that she was able to turn around and lie down comfortably inside her carrier. You don't want to make your dog feel like they are just shoved into a bag. You always want to reaffirm that with treats, of course. Honey loves carrots, so we gave her little carrots. We also left the carrier outside overnight in the living room for 2 days prior to the flight so she could smell it, so she could be around it. And we took her blanket and cut a little piece off of it that she has in her big crate, and we put that inside so she would feel more comfortable. So basically we only had like 1 day to prepare for taking her on a flight with us because it was kind of a last minute thing, but we kind of decided to like kind of simulate like a flight with her. This is kind of something that we've done ever since she was a puppy. We would just play like different noises like balloon popping, fireworks, things like that on our TV, so she was kind of used to the noise.
So what we did for the flight was we kind of simulated that with her as well. So we put her in her carrier to bring her to the car, and then we brought her into the car, let her get settled, left the top open a little bit, and then we kind of let her drive, get used to being inside the carrier. And then after about 10-ish minutes, we went ahead and closed it. So she got used to being enclosed in it. She did cry a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because she's used to being in the car. So sometimes she likes to like get up and look around. But she didn't cry that long. She only cried for a couple minutes, and then we gave her some treats inside her little carrier. And then, yeah, we drove around with her for a little while in her carrier. And then it was probably about a full hour that we did this, and we actually played some like airplane cabin noise.
Yeah.
So it had like the seatbelt, the announcement over the overhead speakers, and like the noise from the jets going. So I don't know. We kind of think that it helps her because it's something that we've done, but we might be a little bit crazy and that might be a little extra. But if you do decide to try it and it works for you, let us know in the comments below what you think.
Yeah, we've been doing that with her for a while. How like with balloons popping or with an ambulance going by or something like that when she was a puppy, we used to play it on the TV so she'd be used to that noise so she wouldn't be afraid of it.
Yeah, and honestly, at least for us, like it's pretty much worked. Like she doesn't get startled by balloons popping. She's not freaked out. She doesn't freak out if there's like a siren going by. We live next to a hospital. Like she's unfazed by the rest of the world.
Yeah.
In a good way. Yeah, so for the rest of that time that we drove around with her, she stayed pretty calm. She fell asleep, and then, yeah, we kind of just continued like we normally do when we drive around, let her sleep. Yeah, I mean, I'd say she did a pretty good job practicing.
Tip number 4, playtime and potty breaks. Since this was Honey's first time and our first time flying with her, we wanted to make sure that we were prepared as much as possible. Besides all the other preparations that we mentioned previously, we also made sure that we spent the day of our flight giving Honey lots of playtime and get all her wiggles out before heading to the airport. That way she was not exhausted, but she felt like she had ran around, she had played with her ball, she had done everything that she wanted to do before we had to put her in her soft crate for the airport.
Yeah, so it gave her like a lot of opportunity to kind of just like get rid of the energy that she had pent up from the rest of the day. So that was pretty fun.
We also tried to make sure that she ate earlier in the day and that she wasn't overly full. That way she wouldn't have to go to the bathroom multiple times. Not to the point of dehydration or being hungry, but just making sure that she was not overly stuffed, that she'd have to do a lot of potty breaks that day. Basically
what we did was we just restructured her day just a tiny bit so she could eat her food a little bit earlier and then get all of that business done in the beginning of the day and then just lighten it up towards the end of the day. Yeah. So it wasn't much of a big change for her.
Also make sure that you know where the pet relief areas are before going to your terminal, because they could possibly be in a different terminal of whatever airport you're going to. And when going through TSA, a big thing for us is, I didn't know, but you have to take your pet out of the carrier, hold your pet, put the pet carrier through the TSA screening, and then while you're holding your pet, go through the metal detector. So I was holding Honey, and you have to put one hand out at a time so that they can swab your hand and then do a test on your hands. So that's something I did. And then after you finish the screening of TSA, you're able to put your pet back in the carrier and give them a little treat as a reward for getting through that.
And something cool, like a cool feature that we forgot to mention earlier of the carrier that we specifically got for Honey, is that it has this little loop on the side. Corey was able to kind of like put the loop through the top of his suitcase handle.
Yeah.
That way Honey could kind of just like sit on top of his suitcase, kind of like a stroller. And we let her like pop her head out a little bit so she could see. So it was pretty cute.
We also recommend that you get a silicone water dish or food dish. So if your dog does need a drink, you will have that for them.
That's a good one. Good job. I was gonna say something, but now I don't remember. Tip number 5. Don't be too hard on yourself. So like a lot of things, doing something for the first time can feel kind of stressful. But if you prepare well, organize yourself, trust yourself, and trust your dog, we think that your first flight is gonna be something that's pretty memorable for both you and your dog.
Or your cat.
I don't know, do they allow cats on board?
Or your tortoise.
Whatever you bring on board.
Or your goldfish.
If you prepare well, trust yourself, trust your pet, and you keep things as organized as possible, we really think that everything should run smoothly for you. And everything will be memorable and will be a fun memory for you to remember your dog's first flight.
Yep.
How fun.
Get out there, people.
Here is the lady of the hour.
Yep. Honey, do you have anything to say?
Well, we do hope that this video was helpful for you. Watching videos on this was really helpful for us, and if it is helpful for you, please give us a like and hit the subscribe button and let us know what other videos you'd like to see from us. Alright, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Imagine someone just bringing a bag on the airplane, like, it's my little fish.